October 20th of this year, Kamala Harris will celebrate her 60th birthday. About 2 weeks after that, she could be elected as President of the United States. Given the current tone of American politics, I really hope both of those things happen. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, or story from our lives.
Season 13, Chapter 13.
Kamala.
On a recent quiet Sunday afternoon, when all of the newsrooms of the world were being staffed by the B team, assistant producers, part-time anchors, interns, Joe Biden announced he would be stepping away from his candidacy as the Democratic nominee for the upcoming U.S. presidential election. CNN immediately woke up Wolf Blitzer and paid for his Uber ride down to the studio. Yes, Wolf, you'll be getting overtime for this. Now just read the teleprompter. Joe Biden didn't even send the letter to CNN or ABC or MSNBC. He posted it on social media. Even he knew that social media is where CNN, ABC, MSNBC, and all the rest get their news. What do you think? Here's my letter, make 30 copies, FedEx it out to everyone? Nah. Tap, post, and done. In his letter, Biden threw his support behind his Vice President, Kamala Harris. The mood of America changed quickly. Oh, so quickly. And given America's stature among world nations diminishing as it is, nevertheless, the mood changed everywhere. Suddenly, Joe Biden was the dedicated public servant of 50 years, putting his country ahead of his personal ambition. Suddenly, Donald Trump was the old man in cognitive decline. Who Kamala might pick as her VP running mate was much more interesting than anything J.D. Vance had to say. Democrats were jubilant and united. As has already been pointed out many times, in only about a month, America and the world saw a disastrous debate performance by Joe Biden, his very capability called into question. Then an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, a 4-day Republican National Convention, crowning Trump and Vance. Then a stepping down from Joe Biden and a stepping up from Kamala Harris. The latter, by the way, somewhat seamlessly. That is a lot. Wolf Blitzer got in a lot of overtime. You know, I find it very interesting that on CNN, as soon as something really important happens, suddenly Wolf Blitzer or Anderson Cooper are on camera. What about the regular anchor who's already there? Are they like, hey, I can say the news as good as that guy? Why are you bumping me? I guess if you tune into CNN and there's Kate Baldwin, you go, well, all right, there's the news. But if suddenly there's Anderson Cooper or Wolf Blitzer, you're like, uh-oh, something's up. Shit's going down. The most amazing thing to me about Kamala Harris is not, one, her loyalty to her boss, as everyone around her was saying Joe's got to go, or two, how quickly she was able to grab the reins and yell, giddy up, or even three, that in less than 24 hours after Biden's letter, she was able to raise $81 million for her campaign. $81 million in a day. And by the way, you know how she raised that money? I mean, oh, sure, a lot of medium and bigger donors came back to the party, but a lot of that money was people, individuals giving $20 here and $20 there. Incidentally, not even $20. One of the most popular donation sums was $19.08. 1908. Remember that. Kamala Harris once attended Howard University in Washington, D.C., a traditional black university, and she pledged to one of the first black sororities in America, Alpha Kappa Alpha. In the U.S., they had this organization called the National Pan-Hellenic Council, an association of the first ever African-American sororities and fraternities in the United States. 5 fraternities, 4 sororities. They are colloquially known as the Divine Nine. Harris's sorority was founded in 1908. So not only were the donations pouring in, but they were symbolic. By the way, I guess this makes her the black candidate. Well, yes and no. I don't know if you know, but there's a problem in America. I just hope this election campaign becomes more about issues and competency as opposed to race and gender. So all of these things, the loyalty, the passing of the baton, the hoopla, the money, all amazing. But to me, the most amazing is that Kamala Harris was there all along. She was there the entire time. Perhaps unnoticed, perhaps underrated, underestimated. You know, Drew Bledsoe was the first overall pick of the New England Patriots. He did win a Super Bowl. The fourth string QB at the time was a later sixth overall pick named Tom Brady, who worked his way up to second stringer, but was ready to step in when the situation called for it. And the rest is history. But who gives a crap about football? It's not real life. Kamala Harris, U.S. District Attorney, California Attorney General, U.S. Senator, Vice President of the United States, and now, at this particular minute in history, has the momentum and favored to become the first female of mixed Asian and Jamaican descent to become President of the United States. She was there the whole time, and yet it took this bizarre series of events to come to this. Well, I'm not saying she's a shoo-in. I'm just talking about this moment in time. Many days and weeks are still ahead. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, with many promises yet to keep, and miles to go before we sleep. The fact that Kamala Harris is at the front of the stage right now, well, part of that is on Joe Biden. Don't get me wrong. Kamala Harris accomplished what she accomplished by hard work, study, dedication, smarts, talent, all of that. But I don't care who you are. At some point, someone has to hand you the keys to the office. Someone has to put you on the payroll, approve your business loan, let you drive, bring you into the meeting and say, all right, let's see what you can do. That part is on Joe Biden. Let's just add that to his list of accomplishments. The good sense to pick Kamala as a running mate 4 years ago. Kamala Harris and Joe's oldest son, Beau, were both attorneys general at the same time. Kamala, California, Beau, Delaware. They had a strong friendship, which played into Joe's decision back in 2020. People are fond of playing old sound bites of when Kamala was running for the Democratic nomination for president. How tough she took on Joe. Then she dropped out, Joe won, still picked her. They disagreed on a few things, but agreed on most things. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Nikki Haley just said that about Trump. She ran against him real hard, but is now back on the team. How about Haley, huh? The Republicans suck so bad that she was suddenly starting to look good to me, at least compared to Trump. She still does. Can you imagine if she had won? We'd have 2 women of Indian descent running for that country's highest office. Mitch McConnell would be turning over in his grave. I know what you're saying, Mitch McConnell is not dead. Yes, I know, but that would kill him. Still odd, though, how Harris for so long went under the radar until suddenly she was forced to drive right through the radar doing 100. I mean, she is, vice president. As much as Americans say they don't care who's second on the ticket, that person is in fact one breath away from the presidency. And VPs do become presidents. It's not unheard of. Johnson was a VP. So was Nixon, Ford, and H.W. Bush, Biden, of course. And all of these, under drastically different circumstances, became president. But yeah, it's not unprecedented. You know what is unprecedented? The number of times we have had to accurately describe political events in America as unprecedented since 2015. 11,937 times. Polls in America had Trump and Biden running close, within 2 or 3 points of each other, usually with Trump slightly ahead. And may I ask right now, should political polling be banned outright, or at least banned from the news? I understand that if you're running a campaign, you might want to poll the electorate to see where you stand, what messages are resonating with the voters. But these daily news cycle reports, some polls conducted by the news organizations themselves. Trump ahead by 2 points nationwide. Biden leads Trump in Nevada. Trump has the edge among bearded white males. Biden leads an 18 to 24 Latino working women who drive a car in West Texas. Enough already. If polls show a candidate is losing, I think that can lose votes. Nobody wants to vote for a loser. Polling is not an exact science and unduly influences elections. I would eliminate poll reporting, at least keep it to a minimum. An individual could access all the information on websites, but just stop talking about it on the news. And of course, politicians who react by saying the only poll that matters is the one on election day. That means you're losing. Trump has something a little different that he says. He says the only way they win is if they cheat, and that means you're losing. When Trump knew he was behind in 2020, he started saying that it was fixed and they were cheating. Well, guess what? He's saying that again right now. The new polls show that Harris is ahead. It's still close, but she's ahead. I repeat, there's miles to go. Some pundits feel that once some of the fanfare dies down, the campaign will return to the issues facing voters. Maybe. Are we really expecting identity politics to just suddenly go away? You know, the kinder, gentler Donald Trump, the changed man after a near-death experience, that was gone before that awkward bandage came off his ear. He was back to name-calling and fake accusations.
Kamala Harris, Lyin, L-Y-I-N apostrophe. The most incompetent and far-left vice president in American history. By the way, they did a poll. She was rated the worst vice president in history. I've never seen that poll before, but that's the poll.
His new hand puppet, J.D. Vance, has done something I thought impossible. At times, he has out-trumped Trump, trying to define Harris as a childless cat lady.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. If you look at Kamala Harris, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
And then this is how J.D. apologized.
I've got nothing against cats, I've got nothing against dogs, I've got one dog.
Weird. Speaking of weird, that word has been adopted by the Democrats, marking Donald, J.D., and some of the candidates as just weird. They say weird things. They have weird ideas. Weird.
It's weird. It is weird.
That stuff is weird. They come across weird. Super weird idea. They're just weird. More weird.
I like it. Some say it's about time the Democrats began fighting fire with fire. Yet others say it takes them down to their level. Trump, of course, subscribes to the Pee Wee Herman School of Political Strategy.
I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? That has been the Trump method for all of his years in politics.
Nobody's ever called me weird. I'm a lot of things, but weird I'm not. And he's not either. JD is not at all. They are.
I know you are, but what am I? And a more subtle derivative, well, what about them? Giving rise to a whole generation of whatabouters, like a petulant child. Why does Bobby get a new bike? Why does he get to stay up late? And if you listen really carefully, everything Trump accuses the Democrats of doing is something he is actually doing. They rigged the election. Well, Trump actually tried to rig the election. They're weaponizing the justice system against me. Trump has promised to use the justice system to get back at his opponents. Sleepy Joe, worst president ever. In fact, Trump has already been named as the worst president in history.
I know you are, but what am I? 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 Infinity.
So there's your hint. As soon as Trump makes an accusation against his opponents, you can assume that that skullduggery is already underway in his campaign. Trump's campaign is the dark, dystopian, apocalyptic vision of America past, present, and future. It's promoting fear with the promise of savior. I think it's why Kamala broke into this early lead. She smiles, she laughs, she loves America. She's not an aging white male. And while acknowledging that the nation is still a work in progress, it is a country under a democracy that's a pretty good place to be. If it is such a horrible spot, why are so many people trying to get in there? Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro summed it up.
So I got a message to Donald Trump. Stop shit-talking America. This is the greatest country on the face of the earth. Let's start acting like it.
Okay, maybe a little over the top there near the end. Perhaps even a touch weird. But maybe the Democratic Party is finally succeeding in redefining their opposition, something they've been unable to communicate to voters so far. At stake, the potential fall of the world's biggest democracy, flawed as it is. A win for Trump is a stab to the heart of the small L liberalism. The main principles of liberalism are individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Fighting those principles are isolationists, nationalists, faux patriots, autocrats, and would-be kings. If they can succeed in America, well, if they can make it there, they can make it anywhere. There is a lot riding on the shoulders of a 5'3" Asian Jamaican female lawyer from Northern California. Although Trump doesn't think she's black. And he told this to a room full of the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Harris just might pull this off. Firstly, she is not a childless cat lady. Happily married to lawyer Doug Emhoff 10 years ago. She helped raise his 2 daughters from a previous marriage. They call her the best stepmom ever, referring to her as Kamala. Doug Emhoff put aside his legal career as an entertainment lawyer when Kamala became VP, making him the U.S.'s second gentleman. Maybe he'll be the first gentleman. Harris has often cited her own mother for her inspiration. Her mom was a cancer research doctor who herself succumbed to cancer in 2009. Kamala has a younger sister, about 3 years younger, Maya. Maya also a lawyer and a commentator on MSNBC. When Kamala was 8, her parents divorced. Kamala and Maya lived with their mother. When Kamala was 12, her mother accepted a research teaching position at McGill University in Montreal. By the way, that would have been 1976 in the Montreal Olympics. Anyway, Kamala attended a French-speaking school. Then she went to Westmount High School. That's where Leonard Cohen went to high school, of course, years earlier. Then she enrolled in Vanier College. But after 1 year, went back to the States, transferred to Howard University in Washington, D.C. Anyway, she's got a huge Canadian connection. After Kamala was sworn in as VP, her first international diplomatic call was to Canada. Kamala's father is still with us, 85 years old. He's a professor emeritus of economics at Stanford University. Donald J. Harris. Donald J. Yeah, it's not relevant. It's just a fun fact. Donald John Trump, Donald Jasper Harris. Their current relationship is unclear. There is a friendly picture of the two of them that looks like it might have been taken about, 10 years ago. They seem somewhat estranged. I'm speculating here, but it seems that after the divorce, the father was not a huge presence in their lives. I'm sure that can affect an adult-parental relationship. Again, guessing. A few years ago, Kamala appeared on a podcast, and she was asked about the legalization of marijuana. which she said she was for. Then the dope-smoking host asked her if she ever smoked marijuana. She jokingly said, "I'm Jamaican, of course I have." Her father took exception to the stereotype. Otherwise, we haven't heard that much from him.
We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead.
Kamala Harris, 2024. In August, her 10th wedding anniversary. The gift is tin, by the way. In October, her 60th birthday. And then there's November. I don't know. Do milestones come in threes?
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.